Many movies have small mistakes that go unnoticed by most viewers. These errors can be simple continuity slip-ups, such as a missing item between shots, or more obvious mistakes like someone walking in the background at the wrong time. Sometimes, props or costumes change without explanation, or characters seem to have different hairstyles in scenes that are supposed to happen one after the other. Even big movie productions with high budgets can make these small errors, which only become clear when paying close attention. While watching, many viewers miss these details because the story pulls their focus away. But once you realize these mistakes, they can seem funny or surprising. Some mistakes are accidental, but others might show how difficult filming can be. Whether you notice them or not, these errors add a quirky charm to movies, and now you might start looking for them during your next film, catching things you never saw before. Keep watching as we reveal some of the most amusing and unexpected mistakes hidden in well-known films. Although Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves is set in the medieval year of 1194, viewers might be surprised to notice the use of a telescope in certain scenes. This is because the telescope was not invented until the 17th century, hundreds of years after the events of Robin Hood. The filmmakers included the telescope by mistake, likely due to modern awareness of this common tool. This anachronism often slips past viewers who are focused on the story and action of the film. It is a small detail, but it highlights how sometimes movies mix different time periods or bring in modern items unintentionally. Such mistakes can occur because movies are made with a lot of technology and props, some of which are more suitable for modern settings. When watching the film, many viewers do not notice the discrepancy, but once they do, it becomes a little fun fact about film history. It reminds us that even big productions can have small errors that reveal a bit about the challenges of creating realistic historical stories. Despite this mistake, the film remains popular for its action, humor, and portrayal of Robin Hood's legend. Fans often enjoy discovering these little details because they add to the interest of watching movies closely and learning about historical accuracy. Many viewers find it amusing to notice items that belong to a different time period and wonder how they ended up in the story. Overall, these small mistakes do not take away from the entertainment, but they do make movie watching more engaging. When watching Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, it is fun to keep an eye out for anachronisms like the telescope, knowing that filmmakers sometimes overlook these details in their rush to tell a good story. Such moments remind us that even well-made movies are created by humans who can make mistakes. These errors often become interesting talking points among fans and critics, making the experience of watching movies more interactive. Sometimes, what seems like a minor oversight can reveal larger truths about how movies are made and how difficult it is to recreate a perfectly accurate historical setting. No matter the mistake, however, the story of Robin Hood continues to inspire audiences with its themes of heroism and justice. Watching carefully, viewers can enjoy spotting these small errors while still appreciating the film's excitement and adventure. Sometimes these mistakes become part of the film's charm, adding a layer of realness that makes the story feel more relatable despite the historical inaccuracy. As a result, many fans enjoy learning about these slip-ups as fun trivia, making their movie experience more memorable. With this in mind, viewers may find themselves more attentive and curious during future film viewings, eager to discover hidden details or historical inaccuracies that might have slipped past them before. Despite the presence of the telescope, the film remains a beloved adventure that captures the spirit of Robin Hood's legend and the excitement of medieval times. These small errors serve as reminders that movies, no matter how polished, are a reflection of human effort and creativity, complete with occasional oversights. Watching movies with a keen eye can turn simple entertainment into a fascinating exploration of history, storytelling, and filmmaking. Whether these mistakes are ignored or debated, they add a layer of fun that keeps fans engaged long after the credits roll. Keep watching with curiosity, and you might notice even more surprises hidden in the details of your favorite movies. After watching the movie Forrest Gump many times, some viewers notice small details that they might have missed before, like mistakes or inaccuracies in the story. One interesting mistake that stands out is related to a letter Forrest Gump receives from Apple. In the film, Forrest is shown to receive a congratulatory letter from Apple Computer, celebrating his successful investment in their company in 1975. This moment seems inspiring because it highlights Forrest's unexpected success in the stock market, which plays a part in shaping his life story. However, upon closer inspection and research, viewers realize that this is a mistake, because Apple Computer was not a publicly traded company in 1975. In fact, Apple was founded in 1976 and did not go public until 1981. Therefore, it would have been impossible for Forrest Gump to have received a valid letter of congratulations from the company in 1975. This inconsistency is a classic example of movie mistakes that slip past viewers, especially because the film is set in the 1970s, but contains an anachronism that breaks the timeline. Such errors can sometimes happen due to oversight or creative choice, but they catch the eye of attentive viewers who know the history behind real events and companies. These mistakes add a layer of curiosity for fans who enjoy spotting errors or historical inaccuracies in movies, making them feel more engaged and observant. As movies are made with many details in mind, some small inaccuracies are common, yet they provide interesting talking points for those watching closely. Overall, the Apple congratulation letter in Forrest Gump is a fun example of how even well-made films sometimes include details that do not match real history, showing that movies are stories created with certain liberties and creative choices. Fans continue to discuss such movie mistakes to better understand the difference between fiction and real history, and to enjoy the little surprises hidden within familiar stories. Despite the excitement and tension of the sewer pursuit scene in the Sherlock Holmes story, many viewers do not realize that the locations depicted in the scene are not geographically close in real life. The scene starts at Parliament, a well-known government building in Westminster, and ends at Tower Bridge, a famous crossing over the River Thames in London. However, these two landmarks are separated by several miles, making it unlikely for someone in a hurry to travel between them in the short time that the scene suggests. This inconsistency is one of many movie mistakes that viewers often overlook. Filmmakers sometimes change details to serve the story better or to simplify the filming process, but these alterations can create small inaccuracies. In this case, the scene's flow and pacing take priority over geographic exactness, leading to a scene that feels fast-paced and exciting but doesn't match the real distances in London. Many fans of Sherlock Holmes enjoy spotting these discrepancies and wondering how much is real and how much is creative license. Despite these errors, the scene captures the thrill of Holmes' detective work and the suspense of the chase. Sometimes, these little mistakes add charm and a sense of behind-the-scenes craftsmanship to the storytelling, reminding viewers that movies often blend truth with imagination. Watching carefully, fans may notice other details that don't quite fit with the actual city layout, but the overall effect remains compelling and entertaining. These mistakes do not detract from the story, but instead offer interesting trivia for those who pay close attention. Movie makers often prioritize drama and visual impact over strict accuracy, and Sherlock Holmes' sewer chase is a perfect example of this creative choice. It keeps viewers on the edge of their seats while offering a fun puzzle for sharp-eyed fans to spot. Such details show how even well-planned scenes can contain overlooked errors, making every viewing experience a little more intriguing when you start noticing these small inconsistencies. As a result, many become more aware of how films adapt real-world locations for storytelling purposes, blending fact and fiction seamlessly. All these small mistakes, including the distance inconsistency between Parliament and Tower Bridge, become a part of the charm and appeal of classic detective stories on screen. Fans continue to enjoy the adventure while keeping an eye out for other movie mistakes that make each viewing unique and engaging. So, many viewers watch the movie Titanic and get taken into the story of the tragic voyage. However, some details in the film can be overlooked or even mistaken. For example, in one scene, Jack mentions that he used to go fishing on Lake Wissota with his father. While this detail might seem small, it creates a mistake because Lake Wissota was not around during Jack's childhood. The lake was created by damming a river almost 5 years after the Titanic sank in 1912. This means that Jack could not have gone fishing there as a child, making this a clear inconsistency in the film's timeline. This small mistake slips past many viewers because they are focused on the story and characters. It shows how even a minor detail, like the name of a lake, can reveal errors in the movie's historical accuracy or continuity. Such mistakes often occur because movies blend fictional stories with real-world elements, sometimes leading to small errors that can go unnoticed at first. This particular mistake about Lake Wissota may seem insignificant, but it highlights the importance of paying close attention to details when watching a film based on historical events. It also demonstrates how filmmakers sometimes overlook or accidentally include inaccuracies despite their efforts to create realistic stories. Watching for these small mistakes can add a new layer of interest and conversation about the film. It encourages viewers to look deeper, not just at the story, but at the accuracy of the details presented. These errors remind us that movies, even those based on real events, are sometimes a mix of fact and fiction, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Recognizing mistakes like the Lake Wissota error helps us appreciate the complexity of making a film that aims for realism while still telling a compelling story. These details, once noticed, can change how we see the movie and understand its story and setting better. It also provides an opportunity for discussion among fans and critics who enjoy spotting errors and debating how they might affect the overall perception of a film. Such mistakes are part of what makes watching movies interesting, as they invite us to look more carefully and reflect on the fine line between history and storytelling. Therefore, even small errors like the mention of Lake Wissota add to the layers of storytelling and analysis that movies like Titanic inspire. Despite the exciting adventure of Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, there is a notable mistake involving a specific scene. During the film, Dr. Jones tries to save his father's valuable manuscript from a fire. However, this scene is not historically accurate because the fire occurs at a time when the manuscript is already missing or lost. In reality, the event depicted in the film takes place in 1938, but the book burnings that destroyed many important documents and manuscripts happened 5 years earlier in 1933. This means that the fire situation shown in the movie did not happen at the correct time. It is a small detail that many viewers do not notice because the story focuses on the adventure and the search for the Holy Grail. However, for those paying close attention, this inconsistency stands out as a mistake. It shows how filmmakers sometimes overlook or forget about historical details when creating exciting scenes. Even though the mistake is minor and does not affect the main story, it is interesting for fans to spot these overlooked inaccuracies. Such details remind viewers to think about the real history behind the stories they enjoy on screen. This particular mistake adds an extra layer for viewers to consider while watching the movie, making it even more engaging for those interested in history and film accuracy. Following this, as the story moves forward, the scenes become more focused on the quest, puzzles, and action sequences, often leaving small historical inconsistencies behind in the background. Still, this particular mistake in the timeline is a fascinating reminder of how movies sometimes mix facts and fiction to create the exciting world that keeps fans captivated. While watching the movie Top Gun, many viewers become captivated by the realistic flying scenes and intense fighter jet action. However, sometimes small mistakes are overlooked, and one common mistake appears during a specific scene. In this scene, two pilots are shown waving to each other as one aircraft flies over the other. At first, this seems like a simple moment of camaraderie, but if you look carefully, it raises questions about safety and aircraft mechanics. The planes appear to be flying very close to each other, which in real life would be dangerous. If the planes are that near, especially in a situation where one is flying just above the other, their rear wings and tail sections could potentially collide. Such a collision would cause serious damage or even a crash, risking the pilot's lives. The scene is likely stylized for dramatic effect, but it highlights how movies sometimes bend the rules of physics to create more emotional or exciting moments. These small mistakes serve as fun trivia for eagle-eyed fans and remind viewers that even big-budget films can have inaccuracies, especially when trying to capture a sense of action and friendship between pilots. Fans who notice these errors often find them interesting because they show how film creators prioritize storytelling over technical correctness at times. Still, scenes like these make viewers think about the challenges real pilots face and how difficult it is to depict authentic flying sequences accurately on screen. Despite these inaccuracies, Top Gun remains an iconic film, celebrated for its thrilling scenes and memorable characters, even if some details are not entirely correct. It is these little mistakes that add to the fun of analyzing movies closely, as viewers enjoy spotting errors that they might not have noticed before. Such scenes remind us that movies are ultimately works of fiction, designed to entertain and evoke emotion, even if they don't always perfectly reflect real-world physics and safety rules. Whether or not you notice these details, films like Top Gun continue to inspire audiences with their exciting action and storylines that keep viewers engaged from start to finish. Despite the powerful scenes and realistic action in Saving Private Ryan, some viewers notice small mistakes that slip past during the intense moments. One of the most well-known mistakes appears with Captain Miller. After a fierce battle, Miller is shown leaning against a motorcycle to rest. However, upon close inspection, it becomes clear that the motorcycle in the scene is an older model that was not manufactured until 1963. Since the film is set during World War II, which took place in 1944 and 1945, this detail creates a small inconsistency. The motorcycle used in the scene was designed and released much later, revealing a continuity error. Many fans and film critics have pointed out this error because it interrupts the historical accuracy that the film aimed for. This mistake is interesting because it shows how filmmakers sometimes use modern vehicles or props due to availability or convenience, even if they don't match the exact time period. These kinds of errors are common in movies because creating perfect historical accuracy is difficult and expensive. Nevertheless, such mistakes are often small enough to go unnoticed during a first viewing, but can be spotted upon careful watching or by eagle-eyed fans. Despite this error, Saving Private Ryan remains a highly acclaimed film, praised for its realistic portrayal of war, emotional depth, and compelling storytelling. These details remind viewers that even in the most carefully made movies, tiny errors can happen, and they often add to the charm for dedicated fans who enjoy spotting them. This particular oversight about the motorcycle is just one of many subtle details that reveal how challenging it is to produce a film that is perfectly true to every period element. These discrepancies do not detract from the overall power of the movie, but serve as small reminders of the complex process involved in filmmaking. Many movies, especially those based on historical events, face the challenge of balancing authenticity with practical filmmaking needs. Sometimes, an anachronism like a motorcycle appearing in a World War II scene is understandable because of props, budget, or filming constraints. Still, movie enthusiasts love to analyze these moments, and discovering such small mistakes adds an extra layer of interest for those who have already watched the film multiple times. These details often spark conversations about accuracy and the choices made during production, showing how even a small error can become part of the movie's story off-screen. In the end, watching carefully and knowing these facts makes movie watching more engaging, providing a new perspective on how films are made and the many challenges involved in creating believable worlds. Many fans of the movie Back to the Future have enjoyed the story of Marty McFly and Doc Brown traveling through time in the iconic DeLorean. However, viewers who look more closely at the details have found a funny mistake that many might never notice at first glance. One such mistake involves the car's license plate. The DeLorean's license plate reads "Out Time," which is a clever and catchy phrase that fans remember well. Still, if you pay close attention, you will see that the license plate is actually one character longer than what California allows for license plates. California's license plates typically have a certain limit on the number of characters they can display, usually 7 characters. But in the movie, the Out Time plate has 8 characters, which would not be possible in real life because it would not fit onto a standard license plate. This detail is a small oversight by the filmmakers, but it is interesting because it shows how sometimes even the smallest parts of a movie can contain mistakes or inconsistencies. This mistake has become a fun fact for many fans who enjoy spotting these details and seeing how movies handle real-world objects, but sometimes slip up with such small elements. Despite this mistake, the license plate "Out Time" remains one of the most memorable symbols from the film and a favorite among fans, who often quote it or look for it in scenes. It proves that even in movies, small details can slip through, but they tend to become part of the charm and mystery of a film favorite. Fans continue to discover new things about the movie, and this license plate mistake is just one of many that add to the fun of watching and rewatching Back to the Future. Some viewers feel that such mistakes make movies more interesting, as they remind us that films are made by people who can sometimes overlook small details. Others enjoy the irony or humor of such errors, especially when they become famous among fans. Nonetheless, the Out Time license plate remains almost synonymous with the film itself, symbolizing the blend of science fiction, adventure, and humor that made Back to the Future a classic. Every time fans see the DeLorean, they often remember this tiny mistake, but continue to celebrate the film's exciting story and memorable moments. In the end, these small errors do not ruin the magic of the movie, but instead add to its legendary status, inspiring fans to keep exploring and noticing new things with each viewing. During the portrayal of Malcolm X's life in the film, there is a notable historical inaccuracy involving a scene where Malcolm X calls 911 during the firebombing of his house. This is a significant mistake because the 911 emergency number wasn't established until 1968, 3 years after Malcolm X's death in 1965. The film's attempt to recreate real events is undermined by this anachronism, as the emergency number system was not in use during the time of Malcolm X's activism. At the time, people would have had to contact local police or fire departments directly to report an emergency. This error, while minor in the grand scheme of the film's narrative, highlights the importance of historical accuracy, especially when depicting real-life figures whose lives and actions shaped significant moments in history. Such an oversight serves as a reminder of how cinematic depictions of history can sometimes bend facts for dramatic effect, leading viewers to accept inaccuracies as truth without questioning them. Many viewers of The Goonies have overlooked a small but interesting detail related to a 1973 Topps baseball card that appears in the film. In one scene, a character's body is found with the baseball card in its pocket, which initially seems like a minor, forgotten prop. However, upon closer examination, observers realize that the body has been there since 1930, making the card an anachronism that shouldn't logically be present. This inconsistency creates a small puzzle for eagle-eyed fans who enjoy spotting mistakes or unusual details in movies. The presence of the 1973 card in a body supposedly from 1930 suggests a continuity error or oversight in the film's production process. Yet it also adds a layer of curiosity for those interested in movie trivia. The card's anachronistic appearance highlights how filmmakers sometimes include props that are not perfectly synchronized with the story's timeline or setting, whether intentionally or accidentally. Such details can sometimes slip past viewers, but often become a fun topic for discussion among fans who love analyzing every frame for hidden clues or mistakes. Over the years, many have pointed out this specific detail as a surprising and memorable mistake that adds an extra layer of interest to the film's background. It also emphasizes how seemingly small elements in movies can sometimes reveal larger inconsistencies, making movie watching a more engaging experience. For those who notice these kinds of details, it becomes a part of the fun in revisiting favorite films and discovering new things each time. This subtle yet significant discrepancy has helped keep The Goonies in pop culture conversations, even years after its release. Many appreciate how such minor errors can spark conversations about the challenges of film production and the importance of detail in creating believable stories. Fans often enjoy sharing these kinds of trivia, which serve as a reminder that even in well-loved classics, tiny mistakes can sometimes find their way into the final cut. The discovery of the baseball card in a corpse from the 1930s reminds us of how complex movie storytelling is, and how eager audiences are to find surprises in familiar films. These moments, while small, add to the richness of film history and demonstrate that no movie is completely free of imperfections. As viewers continue to watch and rewatch movies like The Goonies, such flaws provide a little mystery and trivia to make the experience more enjoyable and engaging. Overall, this mistake highlights how details that seem insignificant at first can become memorable and discussed for years to come. With that in mind, many movie enthusiasts enjoy paying close attention to the small and sometimes overlooked elements that contribute to the magic of cinema. As the scene unfolds in Raiders of the Lost Ark, viewers see Indiana Jones standing atop a large treasure chest, bathed in bright sunlight filtering through a hole in the ceiling. Many viewers might wonder why Indy did not simply move through this opening to escape or to reach the treasure more easily. Instead, he remained standing on the treasure, seemingly paused or hesitant before making a move. This moment raises questions because it looks like Indy could have quickly climbed through the hole to escape or avoid danger, especially since the opening was large enough for him to fit through. Some fans might overlook the fact that Indy was carefully assessing the situation and readying himself for the next move, but from a viewer's perspective, the scene appears to show a moment of hesitation or missed opportunity. This mistake or oversight in filming becomes noticeable only after viewing the scene multiple times, making fans wonder why he didn't just use the hole to his advantage. In reality, filmmakers might have staged this to create suspense and tension, but it also leads to questions about Indy's choices in the scene. Such mistakes or overlooked details are what make movies interesting to watch repeatedly, as viewers pick up on things they might not have noticed before. Despite this, the scene remains iconic, and many fans continue to enjoy analyzing the little details and possible slip-ups that add intrigue to the story. It's these small moments that show how even well-loved movies can have their imperfections, which make them stand out more in viewers' minds. Sometimes, what seems like a mistake may be a deliberate choice to build suspense or character progression, but this particular scene invites viewers to question Enda's actions and ponder alternative options he might have had in that tense moment. Overall, these tiny details contribute to the richness of a film, giving fans more to think about long after the credits roll. Many people watch The Sound of Music and enjoy the wonderful songs and beautiful scenery, but they might not notice some factual mistakes hidden in the story. One common mistake is the scene where the Von Trapp family escapes Austria by crossing the Alps to reach safety. While the scene shows them traveling over high mountain passes, viewers might assume they crossed into Switzerland because of the mountain terrain. However, the reality is that Salzburg, where the story is set, does not border Switzerland. Instead, Salzburg is bordered by Germany and Austria itself. The film shows a daring escape through the Alps, which is actually more consistent with crossing into Germany or other neighboring countries, but not Switzerland. This small detail has confused many viewers who think the family might have crossed into Switzerland, but geography shows that their escape would have led them into Germany, not Switzerland. The filmmakers perhaps chose the dramatic mountain scenery to enhance the story, but overlooked the precise geographic borders of Salzburg. Such mistakes attract attention because they break the logical understanding of where the story is set. In addition, the real location of Salzburg, being surrounded by Austria and Germany, makes the escape route shown in the movie a little less accurate. Despite these minor errors, the film remains a beloved classic, but keen-eyed viewers often spot these inaccuracies when paying attention to the map and geography. These details remind us that even well-made movies sometimes take creative liberties with facts to tell a better story. Such mistakes do not reduce the charm of the film, but they do give fans something interesting to notice and discuss. These kinds of factual errors make movies more fun to analyze and can spark conversations about history and geography. Overall, The Sound of Music story is a beautiful tale of courage and music, but it also contains small errors like the crossing of the Alps into Switzerland when the real geography suggests they would have gone into Germany instead. Fans who look closely enjoy discovering these inaccuracies, making the movie even more interesting to watch multiple times. On the surface, Halloween is a classic horror movie that many people enjoy watching every year. It tells the story of a man named Michael Myers who escapes from a mental hospital and returns to his hometown to terrorize everyone. The film is set in a small, fictional community in Illinois that looks quiet and peaceful. However, upon closer inspection, viewers might notice some unusual details that seem out of place for a northern town in Illinois. One of the most obvious mistakes is the presence of palm trees in the background during several scenes. Palm trees are typically found in warmer climates like Florida or California, not in Illinois, especially in a small town. Since Illinois experiences cold winters with snow and freezing temperatures, it's strange to see palm trees standing tall and green in the background of a Halloween scene. This inconsistency might be overlooked at first, but once noticed, it shows an error in the movie's setting. Many viewers enjoy spotting these mistakes because they add a new layer of interest to a familiar film. Sometimes, movies make small errors like this because they are filmed in different locations or during different seasons, and the production team doesn't always match the background perfectly to the story's setting. Despite these mistakes, Halloween remains a beloved film that has become a symbol of the horror genre. Fans often look for little details like the palm trees, which remind them that even in well-made movies, small mistakes can slip through. These errors do not ruin the movie, but they do give viewers something to watch for. Recognizing these errors can bring a new appreciation for the effort that goes into making a film, and how sometimes details don't always align perfectly with the story's setting. It also sparks discussions among fans about how movies are made and what can be overlooked in the process. Many people enjoy exploring these little quirks, which makes watching classic films like Halloween even more fun. It shows that behind the scenes, filmmaking can be complicated, with many small decisions and changes that happen during shooting. Over time, fans have pointed out these mistakes and shared their observations, adding to the legacy of the film. Ultimately, these unnoticed or overlooked details remind us that even popular movies have their imperfections, and that's part of what makes them interesting. By paying attention to these minor details, viewers can develop a deeper understanding of how movies are made and appreciate even the smallest aspects of filmmaking. Despite the background errors, Halloween continues to be a significant film that has scared and entertained audiences for generations. The presence of palm trees in a northern Illinois setting remains one of those small mistakes that fans love to spot, proving that no film is perfect, but many are still great. These small errors remind us that movies are creative projects, full of surprises, and sometimes even mistakes that add to the charm of the final product. As viewers watch the movie The Green Mile, they often get deeply involved in the emotional story of John Coffey, a man with special powers who is on death row. However, many people may not notice a small but important mistake in the film's background. In one scene, John Coffey is executed by electric chair, a method of capital punishment. But historically, the electric chair was not used until 1940. The movie is set in the early 1930s, which is 5 years before the electric chair was invented and first used. This inconsistency is often overlooked because the story focuses on the characters and the drama of the moment. Some viewers may assume the filmmakers did not care about such details, but in fact, it's a small mistake that slipped past the editing process. It's interesting to see how movies sometimes include details that don't match real history, yet are used to serve the story or create a certain atmosphere. Still, fans who pay close attention might notice this tiny error and wonder about its significance. Despite this, the emotional power of the film remains strong, and the core story about justice, humanity, and faith continues to resonate with audiences. These kinds of mistakes remind us how movies are made, often prioritizing story and emotion over exact historical accuracy. Many viewers appreciate noticing such details because it adds a layer of engagement and curiosity when watching movies. Sometimes, these small errors help us learn what was happening in history or encourage us to explore more about the real events behind the story. Nonetheless, the mistake about the electric chair in The Green Mile does not take away from the film's powerful message or its popularity among audiences worldwide. It's a reminder that films are works of art that combine history, imagination, and storytelling, sometimes with small inaccuracies that are easily missed. Movies like The Green Mile continue to touch people's hearts, even when there are little errors woven into the narrative. This particular mistake has become a known talking point among fans, sparking discussions about what is real and what is fictional in the stories we see on screen. On a deeper level, it shows how filmmakers sometimes take creative liberties to tell a compelling story, even if it means bending the facts just a little. For most viewers, these details may be interesting trivia rather than a distraction from the film's main message. Overall, the mistake about John Coffey's electrocution in The Green Mile demonstrates how movies can blend truth and fiction, creating powerful stories that stay with us long after the credits roll. We may never notice every tiny error at first glance, but those little flaws can spark conversations and keep the discussion about the film alive for years. Such details remind us that movies are a reflection of reality mixed with imagination, and that sometimes the most meaningful stories are told even with small inaccuracies that do not lessen their impact. Many viewers enjoy watching movies, and sometimes notice small errors or inconsistencies that might not have been obvious at first glance. One interesting mistake appears in the movie Braveheart, which is set during the early 1300s in Scotland. In the film, the main character William Wallace is shown wearing a killieutenant. However, this is historically incorrect. The traditional Scottish kilt as we know it today did not exist during that time. Kilts were only developed much later, in the 16th century, which is about 300 years after the events of the film. During medieval times, Scots wore different types of clothing, such as plaid fabrics and other garments made from wool. These garments did not resemble the kilts seen in the movie. The film's costume designers may have chosen to dress William Wallace in a kilt because it looks more colorful and visually striking for viewers today. This mistake is a reminder that movies often take creative liberties or take shortcuts to make characters appear more recognizable. Still, it shows how careful viewers can be and how historical accuracy is sometimes sacrificed for visual appeal or storytelling. Despite this error, Braveheart remains a popular film, loved for its intense battles and powerful story, even if some details like the clothing are inaccurate. Understanding these mistakes helps viewers enjoy films with a more critical eye, appreciating both the entertainment and the historical context. It also encourages us to learn more about history outside what movies portray. Such details remind us that history and movies may sometimes diverge, but both can teach us something new. This particular mistake about William Wallace's clothing shows how films can sometimes overlook historical facts in favor of visual impact, but it also sparks curiosity about what people really wore during that era. Overall, spotting these errors adds another layer of interest when watching historical movies, and it encourages viewers to explore the past beyond what they see on screen. Because of the way movies are made, sometimes mistakes slip into the final version without being noticed right away. In the movie Independence Day, there is a noticeable mistake involving the famous Empire State Building. Usually, this building is shown in scenes where it appears to be perfectly centered or viewed from certain angles. However, if you look closely, you will see that the way the building is shown in the film is not accurate to its real location. The Empire State Building sits on Fifth Avenue, near what is called a street in the film's setting. In reality, the building is not situated at a corner or intersection that looks like what the movie depicts. Instead, it is positioned differently on the Manhattan Island, making the depiction in the movie impossible. This mistake might be small, but for viewers who know New York City well, it stands out and shows how sometimes films take creative liberties with famous landmarks. Filmmakers often do this to make scenes look more dramatic or easier to shoot, but it can lead to inaccuracies that alert observant viewers. Recognizing such errors helps fans appreciate the effort that goes into making movies, while also spotting things that don't match real life. Errors like these are common in many films, and remind us that even big productions can have small slip-ups. These details often go unnoticed at first, but can become clear once someone pays close attention to the setting and background of famous locations, like the Empire State Building in this case. Fans who enjoy spotting movie mistakes find it fun to notice inaccuracies that others might overlook, and it adds an extra layer of entertainment to watching movies. Even with these mistakes, Independence Day remains a popular film, and such errors show that no movie is perfect, but it doesn't mean the story is any less exciting. Instead, it highlights the importance of checking details, especially when it comes to well-known landmarks and cityscapes. These inaccuracies can serve as little surprises for attentive viewers, making the experience of watching movies more engaging and interesting. It's fascinating to see how even a small detail like the location of a famous building can reveal so much about filmmaking choices and the importance of accuracy. As viewers become more aware of these errors, they can enjoy films with a more critical eye while still appreciating the entertainment they provide. With practice, spotting these mistakes becomes easier, and it turns watching movies into a more interactive experience where fans notice things others miss. This particular error about the Empire State Building in Independence Day reminds us that movies are a blend of fiction and reality, often changing real details for the sake of storytelling. Despite this, the film continues to be loved by audiences around the world, and recognizing these flaws adds to a deeper appreciation of the craft behind filmmaking. These discrepancies also show that making movies involves many decisions that balance between realism and visual impact, sometimes at the expense of accuracy. Still, it's the excitement of discovering such mistakes that makes watching films more fun for dedicated fans who enjoy exploring every corner of the story. Every film has its quirks, and these small details can make appreciating movies even more rewarding. Whether it's a tiny mistake or a major oversight, it all contributes to the fascinating world of cinema and how we see the places and stories brought to life on screen. In the movie Gladiator, many viewers are surprised to learn that Russell Crowe's character is called the Spaniard, a nickname used throughout the film to emphasize his origins and reputation. However, this raises a historical inconsistency because the term Spaniard was not in common use until the 14th century, many centuries after the setting of the story. The film takes place around 180 AD during the height of the Roman Empire, a time when the term Spaniard or Spanish had not yet been created or widely used. Instead, during that period, people from the Iberian Peninsula might have been referred to as Lusitanians, Celtiberians, or other regional names, but not as Spaniards. This small historical oversight is a mistake that many viewers might overlook at first, especially because the nickname fits the character's background and the story well. It also underscores how filmmakers often prioritize storytelling over strict historical accuracy, which can lead to these curious anachronisms. Despite this, the use of the Spaniard adds to the character's mystique and strength, making him memorable for audiences. Recognizing this detail helps viewers enjoy the movie with a better understanding of the historical context versus Hollywood storytelling. Such mistakes show how even popular movies can contain small inaccuracies that slip past viewers' notice, especially when they enhance character portrayal or plot development. Today, we now know that the nickname's use is historically inaccurate for the period in which Gladiator is set, but it remains one of those interesting movie mistakes that many might not notice during the first viewing. This type of detail reveals how historical films often blend fact and fiction to create compelling stories, sometimes leading to these small but interesting errors. As viewers become more observant, they may begin to spot these inconsistencies and think more about the actual history behind the story. Often, it adds another layer of engagement, prompting questions about what is real and what is fictional in movies based on history. Overall, the use of the Spaniard in Gladiator is a perfect example of how movies can tell powerful stories while occasionally glossing over historical facts, creating fun discussions for viewers who enjoy spotting mistakes and learning more about history. Awareness of such errors can deepen one's appreciation for the efforts involved in making these films, while reminding us that stories often take creative liberties. This detail about the nickname is just one of many small errors in movies that show how entertainment and history sometimes mix in surprising ways. Knowing these mistakes allows viewers to enjoy films more critically and understand the difference between accurate history and cinematic storytelling, which opens more doors for conversation about the accuracy of movies set in historical times and how filmmakers balance storytelling with historical detail. It also illustrates that even big-budget films are not immune to small inaccuracies, whether due to oversight or artistic choice. Still, these mistakes do not generally detract from the enjoyment of the film, but offer an interesting trivia point for fans and history buffs alike to explore. Recognizing such details encourages a deeper look into historical movies and can spark curiosity about the true events and peoples of ancient times. These small mistakes become part of the fun of watching historical films, reminding us that perfection is hard to achieve and that some inaccuracies become part of what makes movies interesting. Therefore, when watching Gladiator, knowing the nickname's historical inaccuracy can add a layer of knowledge and enjoyment, highlighting the fascinating mix of history and fiction in cinema. People often do not notice small mistakes in movies, but sometimes they are quite obvious once you pay close attention. In the movie Teen Wolf, there is a moment during a very intense scene when everything seems to be reaching its climax. As the camera prepares to shift away from the main characters and move to a new shot, viewers who are paying close attention can see something unusual. Just before the scene ends, and the camera pans away, an extra in the background is seen adjusting their fly. This small mistake is easy to overlook because it happens so quickly, but it became noticeable enough that many fans pointed it out afterward. Even shows like Family Guy have made jokes about such slip-ups, highlighting how common these mistakes are in movies and TV shows. Sometimes actors and extras get caught off guard, or their natural habits slip out during a scene. Film editors might miss these tiny errors while editing, especially in fast-paced or complex scenes. Despite all this, such mistakes often add a little humor or charm to a film, reminding viewers that even professional productions can have their small imperfections. These unnoticed details inspire fans to rewatch movies and spot other mistakes they might have missed the first time. It's interesting to see how even major movies like Teen Wolf can have these little flaws that slip past the crew but become part of the film's story in a way. Such moments teach us that no matter how well made a movie is, human errors can still happen. These slip-ups, while minor, often become fun facts for fans to talk about and share. As a result, movie mistakes like the one in Teen Wolf remind us that behind the camera, everyone is human and sometimes makes simple errors. Watching out for these tiny details can make viewing movies more fun and engaging, as it allows us to appreciate the work behind the scenes and spot moments that might normally go unnoticed. Fans often enjoy pointing out these small errors because they add a layer of realism and humor to movies and TV shows, making the viewing experience more interactive and memorable. Whether it's an extra adjusting their fly or a continuity mistake, these small errors become part of what makes movies and television shows interesting and worth revisiting again and again. As we continue to watch, it's fun to remember that even the best productions can have their little flaws, just like life outside the movie.